All right, everyone should see that we are recording. So tonight's video is on families and using the family editor. We're going to go ahead and start by opening up Revit, and I just want you to open to your normal, just to the normal screen. So just get to your splash screen and we'll wait there. And I will go ahead and start sharing. And I will share screen 2. All right, just a second while I change all this around so the class can see. All right, so we should get to something that looks like this. You might have a little different splash screen, okay? Not a big deal either way, whatever version you're using. Okay, what we want to do, normally we're dealing in this model section. Tonight we're dealing with families. So how many of you guys know what a family is? You should know what a family is. Oh, shit, hold up. Sorry, what'd I do? We there? Woo! Touch screen. I hit the PC button. All right. So normally we deal with the models and families that have already been pre-built. Those are called system families, okay? So the families that are coming in, like the walls that we're using, and windows are a little different. Windows are probably user families, but the ones that you have in Revit are technically system families because they came with the system, okay? What we're going to be doing is building what we call user families, or a family that's can be built by us, okay? It's not controlled by Autodesk, okay? So what I want to do is go to this families and I want to click this new button. Does everyone have at the splash screen? All right. If you're not, I'm going to give you 1 minute because I'm going to get some water because my mouth is dry and I'm going to do a lot of talking. So I'll be right back. It's coming. Yeah. You know what? Some of us do paper. We're going to go to something more paper. No. Right? You extract us all. That'd be awesome. What took you guys to I'm wearing just there. I already got pictures. I'm out of here. Ooh. I thought I had that protracted. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for your patience, or I would be struggling for a bit. All right. So let's go here. We're going to go to models. We don't want to go to, right? This is where we normally are. We're going to go down to families. So we're going to be creating a new family. So let's go ahead and just click on this new. And you should get something that pops up. And I don't know what yours is going to look like. You might be already in the English Imperial folder. It might look like this. Either way, we want to go to where it just says generic model. So if you want to find a generic model. Okay, and again, we want to try to be in English Imperial. If you're already in that, great. Again, I don't know exactly where yours is going to bring you up, but we're going to choose generic model as a template and click open. And it will bring you here. And it looks and feels very familiar to what you're used to, right? Very similar layout. You've got a ribbon. You've got some different views. We've got some different elevation views in here. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to start in this reference floor plan. Okay. So how many people have this reference level right here where it's a ceiling plan? Okay. I want you to go ahead and just right click and delete that. Nope, it won't let you do it. That's what I thought. So what I want you to do is minimize it so it's not an option. Okay. I'm never going to be talking about the reference level for the ceiling plan. It's always going to be this floor plan reference level. If I was building something that was a light fixture, something that was hosted upside down, maybe we would talk what? A cloud, maybe, I don't know, depending on how you're ultimately the ceiling plane is, if I was modeling something that's 7'6" or higher, it would show up there by default. But we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to be in the normal reference level. Okay. So there's some very important shortcuts I would like you to jot down that we will be using tonight. I'm going to put them on the board for people that are here, and I'm just going to put them on the board. So we've got RP. Okay, so the command RP, and I'm going to put it on the board. I'll also type it right here. So RP, and that stands for reference plane. Okay, I'll move these later, but I'll just put a couple of things up here. Okay, there's 3 of them that I want to use.
And so we just type RP, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. You're just going to type RP on your keyboard. You don't have to click, you don't have to hit enter, you're already in the command. Okay, we're going to be using this so many times. I want you to get used to using a keyboard shortcut. AL for align. And you probably already used it. And then the last but not least, okay, I want to use DI for dimension. Okay, so RP, AL for align, DI for dimension. All right, everyone got that kind of jotted down somewhere? I just don't want to be going. The biggest thing we don't want to be doing is going to the ribbon every time, clicking, getting out of the modify tab, getting back into the ribbon. It saves a lot of effort by using these 3 shortcuts. So we're going to start with using the RP shortcut. I'm going to just go ahead and take this and move it out of the way. Kind of just put it over here. If you need to ask me what the shortcut is, again, by all means, go ahead and do that. All right. So I want to determine real quick. Right now, if I'm on this side of this is what's called a reference plane, but it's also known as the center reference plane. Okay. So by default, the Revit comes with a center reference plane left and right, and a center reference plane front and back. Okay. For our purposes, we're going to be using left, which will be here, right? So if I say left, it will be, let me just, can I tell line I can. So, but if I say left, it'll be the left-hand side of that center line, right? Make sense? If I say right, it'll be the right-hand side of the center line. If I say top, it will be towards the top of your screen. So if I say top, it'll be up here, and bottom is down here. Does that make sense? Okay. We will be using that same nomenclature no matter what view we are in. Okay, so if I say that we're going to go to the front view and we double click this front, you'll still see a few reference planes. We're going to use the same type of nomenclature. We'll get there. It's not confusing. I just wanted, well, that's not the top. The top is towards screen top. That's all I'm saying. Okay. All right. So let's draw some reference planes. Okay. So RP on your keyboard. And we're going to draw from the left-hand side. We're going to click once. And we're going to drag down. And the very, very, very most important thing that we're doing when we do this is make sure that all of these reference planes are at 90 degrees. Okay. I can't make a reference plane at 87 degrees and make this work. Okay. We need everything at straight, perpendicular, and or parallel lines. Okay. So I'm going to make one there. I'm also going to make one to the right-hand side of center. Don't worry about naming it yet. We will get into naming it.
My RP is not letting me. It's not letting me get in anything.
Click them at the same time.
You should just be able to click it one after another. But okay, then go to here. Check this out. If you type in KS on your keyboard, does it bring up a menu?
No.
So you've got something going on where you've got no shortcuts are being enabled. Are you sure you're clicked into Revit?
Yeah, I thought I was. I'm in Revit. I'm on the same spider and.
Okay. And it. Okay, so if you can't get it by the shortcut, we can go to here to the it should be in the architect. Let's go to create. So it should be right here, create, and right here under reference plane, create a reference plane using drawing tools. You got that in your menu?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so just do that. And then, so just draw one for me real quick and on your keyboard and see if it will draw another one.
Okay.
So you can use that as a kind of a quick command to restart the command. If you hit enter, it will do the same command as you did before.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps or works, or you might just have to go to the ribbon every time. Either way, we want to have 3 across here, right? The 2 of them that we added, 1 to each side of center.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and use our dimension tool right here in the ribbon under the modify tab. Dimension, it should say align dimension, okay? We're going to dimension from the left-hand line to the center line to the right line, and then click in any white space to set that dimension. Now don't click again. Right now, still being in this command, we want to click this equals button. And you'll notice that the line should either move in or out depending on where it's at, and they are now equal to each other. Pretty cool. Do we all have an equals?
Yep.
You can, if you want to take your line, and let's say your line was like down here, you can take it, click this end and drag it up. Sorry, not that was the dimension end, but right here, if you grab this little node, you can just drag that up. So you may want to include, you may need to do that later on, just depending on how small you drew something. But don't worry about it yet. We'll build this and then we'll set it to the right dimensions and we'll all be back together. Okay. So we've got one dimension that's going across from left to center to right, right? That we have made equals distance to each other. That means when I take this right line and I drag it, what's going to happen to the left line? Right?
Move with it.
I move with it because it is constrained by what we call a parameter, right? The parameter in this instance is an equals parameter, saying this must be equal to the other one, right? So everything we do tonight is going to be dealing with parameters and making a framework so we can stretch and flex this table. Okay, it's cool. There's a lot to it though. All right, next we're going to dimension from the left line to the right line, skipping the center line. Okay, left line to the right line, and I want to put this above the other equals dimension. And I'm just going to go ahead and click it and hit escape and just exit the command. And if it's 7 feet, cool. And I can click on it and you can see that nothing happens to it right now. I can't do anything with that 7 feet. The only way to change that 7 feet right now is by physically me grabbing this line and dragging it. But that's not what I want to do, right? I want to have control of everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our first dimension parameter. So I want this to be the width of the table. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So I want to click on this 7'2" dimension. And I want to come up here to the top, and you should see something that says label, and there's something under it that says none. And if we click that drop down at this point, we have nothing in there. We have a default elevation at 0 feet probably, but you don't have any parameters that we've created. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to click this dimension and click this little new parameter button. It's a little parameter with what's called a Kaizen burst. It's got a little star sunshine on there, right? And we're going to click that button and we're going to create a new parameter. Now tonight for what we're doing, every parameter that we deal with is going to be known as a family parameter. Okay. That being said, what it means ultimately is this parameter is just going to be relative to this family. I'm not pulling from a database that has a lot of my company, or every company that uses Revit has a shared parameters file. And in that file, it's got all the different, maybe they have a length parameter and a width parameter, and it's got shared parameters that they can schedule across projects and they utilize. We don't have a way to have a shared parameter file, but ultimately we're just creating family parameters tonight. So every parameter that we create tonight is going to be a family parameter, a type parameter, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but just for now, just remember it's a type parameter. It's what's coming out by default. And it's a length parameter that should already be categorized as a length because we are choosing it from the label. So what I want to do is just go ahead and call this width. And I typically work in cap locks, and so I'll just call that width. And I'm actually going to call this table width, just because I like to be specific on what type of width that I'm talking about. And you'll notice that table width.
Crazy. It's not letting me type, and I don't know what's the deal. Let me see.
Dude, you've got something going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't have a keyboard.
I have a keyboard. I'm using it on my laptop now. That's weird.
Okay, well, somehow your keyboard's not. If you can't do it, then just watch the video tonight and follow along the next time you can get Revit to work.
Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, I can't fix a keyboard interface issue.
Hey, Graham, can you repeat the step where you went to the parameter where you click the new? Because it's
yes.
not.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that one real quick. I'll go back. So I'm going to create one more dimension. Again, I'm dimensioning from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Now, since I already created a parameter of width, even though I deleted it, it still remembers that. Okay, the parameter is still there. It's just not assigned to a dimension. So, but you're saying that you didn't create that. We want to click this create parameter button.
Okay.
And we want to just go ahead, leave everything alone, and just type in table width right here for the name.
Okay, I did it. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, the second dimension, right? We use the create parameter button, and we're just going to call this table width. Okay. Stop. You're just making reference points. So what you're doing Remember what we're dealing with up here, right? Reference planes, align, and dimension. Okay. Okay, we need for dimension. So we do dimension here. Yeah. Put the left one, put the center one. Put the center one. I was curious. Yeah. Okay, again, we've got a long night tonight if we're gonna be stopping every minute. Okay. So if we're having troubles with stuff, I know we had a keyboard interface issue. If you're missing steps, I ask that we just try and I know I want you to tell me, but if you're like 3 steps behind and then we're going back and just starting putting dimensions on, we're just going to be going back and forth all night. So if you are struggling, please go ahead and watch, pay attention, try to move along, but we always have this video to rewatch it, okay, and learn it. Okay, but it's not fair for everyone else to be stuck because I'm constantly trying to help someone that's not fully paying attention. All right. So now that this says 7.2, again, I built a new parameter button, but I already created the parameter, so I'm just going to assign it right now and call that table width. Okay. One thing that once it's created as table width, you'll notice now that you can click into this parameter and I can type in 8. Oh, I put numlock on and I can type in 8. And now I can control the width of those 2 lines. Okay, pretty cool. We're going to do the same thing for table. I guess it's going to be table length. So we're going to go ahead and do reference plane. So RP, I'm going to draw again on the top side of this center line from left to right. On the bottom side of this center line from left to right. And then we're going to do the same dimensioning step. So dimension from top to center to bottom. Set that dimension and press equals button to set those in equal distance them. And then very top to very bottom, set the dimension, click into it, and we're going to create a new parameter, and we're going to call this table length. And it will be a family parameter and a type parameter. And so what I want to do right now is I want to type in 10 on both sides, 10 by 10. I want you to make sure that your reference planes, if they are not needing at least to this distance, I would drag these out. So like click on that plane, you can click the bottom of that and just drag it. Okay. And that should drag, come on. Oh, it's pinned. Oh, the center ones are pinned. The outside ones, we just want to make them at least as long as like that individual one, right? So if you make it a square, that's great. Okay, I just want to make sure that we have some working room. We're going to go back and create a 4x4 table and you'll see what it does. But now we have extensions on there, right? So set it to 4x4 and we'll go from there. Does anyone not have it that looks like this, where you've got, you know, perfectly equals distance lines? Right, cool. So the next thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and build. We built some framework, right? Let's go ahead and build some actual geometry. Okay. So before we could sit here and build framework for until the cows come home, right? Like I've got a bunch of lines that we got to draw. However, I think it's better for us to go ahead, use the lines that we've got right now and build some geometry to attach to them. So let's come up here to the create tab in your ribbon. And we're going to create an extrusion. And what I want to do, okay, is create an extrusion, and we're going to use this square button. Now, there's a lot of ways that we could do this tonight, okay? I need you to follow the way that I'm showing you, okay? I could go ahead and click on this line and click here, and it auto locks, and we're all good to go. But I don't have control of what's going on your screen when it auto locks on us, okay? So we're going to build this a little bit smaller and use some tools to make sure that we're all together and everyone's doing the same thing. I've done this lesson 6 times now. Well, this is 6. Lesson 1 and 2. Yeah, there's some people that we utilize this and we struggled mightily, okay? Because some people it auto locked the right way, some people it didn't. And it just, I want to make sure we're all together. So we're going to call this quadrant, let's just say, northwest, northeast, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care. I want you to draw a square in the middle of this quadrant to the middle of this right quadrant. Okay. It's not going to be the full size. And right now it's going to go from 1 foot. It's going to start at 0 and it's going to go 1 foot in depth. Don't worry about the depth. We'll deal with it later. Okay. So, but I just want to go ahead and make that extrusion. Again, we're not aligning anything. We're not locking anything at this point. We're just building the extrusion inside the lines. It's going to go from 1 foot to from 0 to 1 foot by default. And we're going to hit this checkbox or the green check. Now is when we're going to use our tools to actually align and lock. Okay. So what I mean by align and lock, does anyone have an idea what that means? So right now, if I take this height and change it from 4 feet to 6 feet, you'll notice we did a good job of getting those dimensions set that reference plane is going to move. Now, right now, it's automatically trying to move with those planes. You see that, right? Well, by default, I didn't want it to do anything. Okay. I didn't tell it to move with that plane. And that's why I don't want you guys putting it on the corners, because it's trying to do who knows what, right? It's trying to be smart and lock it for you automatically. I want to control it. Okay. Right now it's controlling itself. Like it shouldn't be controlling that. What's holding that distance? I don't know. What is that distance? I don't know. Okay. So that's why we're going to use the framework and we're going to do what's called align and lock. So I want to use our AL command on our keyboard. Okay. And I want to, before we do anything, make sure that your multiple alignment checkbox is off. Okay. It should be by default. I'm just double checking. Okay. We want to click this very top reference plane. Again, it doesn't matter. I moved my thing around, right? Yours is probably still says 4 feet. Let's make mine say 4. Cool. Okay. I don't care what it says on it. Okay. Let's go ahead. It's the same move for everything. So I want to click this, click AL. And again, remember using the align tool, we click where we want to align first, then what we want to align, right? So it's where we want to align to this top line, what we want to align the top of this extrusion to that top line. That was the alignment part, right? And now you'll see a lock button, lock symbol show up, right? Click that lock. That is your first align and lock of the night. We got about 100 more to go. Okay. That being said, let's go to it's automatically into the next one. So click the very right one, click the right side of that extrusion, click the lock, click the bottom one, click the bottom of the extrusion, click the lock. Left one, left side of the extrusion, click the lock. Once you've got all 4 of them locked, double click escape to get out of the command. I'm going to do that one more time for anyone who missed it. If you have it, great. Okay, I'm going to create this extrusion by going to the Create tab in the ribbon and clicking the extrusion. By default, it's set from 0 to 1 foot in height. We'll take a look at that when we get to our front views. We want to click this rectangle tool, and I want to draw a rectangle or a square in this instance inside of the quadrants. We don't want to click on any of these outside lines because I don't want it to automatically lock by default. So I'm just going to click in here, make a little bit of a square. Again, if it's a rectangle, it doesn't matter. It'll all get fixed. Click this checkbox. Once that check is done, hit escape twice. Now that we have this extrusion, we're going to align and lock it. So we're going to use our AL. A is in apple, L is in lamp. We're going to click the top line reference plane and then the top of the extrusion and lock it. Right
Are we doing this
side.
a second time, or is
No,
this?
I'm going through it one more time for anyone who
okay.
missed it.
All
If
right.
you already have it and you're good, just leave it. Okay. I just wanted to do it one more time. Again, so now all 4 of them are locked and we hit the escape twice to get out of the command. So now that we have that, let's change the width of our table to 6 feet by 6 feet. So, hold up. You never locked anything. You did, but you're inside the extrusion. So we want to get out of that. So cancel that.
Yeah, so I locked everything already.
So you just double click to get back in.
Yeah, I was doing it a second. time.
Okay. Sorry if I confused anyone. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got it. All right. So if you move to 6 by 6, okay, it should move with it. Let's go ahead and check that out in our 3D view. Let's double click and open up this 3D one. And you should see something that looks like, you know, a little square. And if we open up this this family types, this family types button in your properties section up here, but this family types, we bring up this type window that shows the 2 types that we created, which was our table length and our table width. And if I change that to 8 by 8 and click apply, you'll see that that table or that surface stretches. If you did it right. If you didn't lock something, now is the time that you're going to find out. Right here, go to the modify tab, and then it's right here and left-hand side properties. It's the 4 blue boxes. And then I just do this. Typically, this is a move I always do when dealing with parameters, and something you want to take a look at is make sure that whatever parameter that you build, make sure it's working properly before moving on to something else. That'll help troubleshoot later when things don't work. So I've got them at 8.
Can we keep it 6.6, or do you want us to change it to 8?
You can keep it 8.6.6. That's fine. We're gonna work
All right.
with it as 6.6. I'm just demoing that that's what's happening, right? Okay, so I just went to the 3D view. Does everyone stretch and flex accordingly? No problems there. Yeah. So let's go back to this reference level again. It's the floor plan reference level. Now that we created a piece of geometry, let's go ahead and create a couple more. So we got the width and the length of our table figured out, which is pretty cool. Okay, we can stretch it widthwise, we can stretch it lengthwise. Okay, but we need to build some more parameters and some more reference planes in here. So that way we can build some table legs, control the offsets, and actually make a table that will work. Okay. So I want to create a parameter, not a parameter, a reference plane. And I'm going to create a reference plane roughly, I mean, give or take like, and you can, if you hold it near here, you can kind of see how far it is. I don't care how far this is. We're going to be able to control it later, but we don't want it like near the center line. So we're going to go ahead and create 1, 2, and 3 reference planes on the left side, and 1, 2, and 3 reference planes on the right side. And we can do it with 2. You know what? Let's do it with 2. We'll do it with 2 this class. I've done it with 3. I've done it with 2. It doesn't matter. We'll do it with 2. It's a little easier this way. So if you built 3, go ahead and click one of them and delete 1. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and build the framework for the other direction too. So again, let's go 2 reference planes on the top side and another 2 reference planes on the bottom side. And I know that there's a lot of planes out here, so we got to pay a little bit of attention. What's going on? We got some cool tricks to kind of figure it out. All right. So what I want to do is we're going to control the legs of the table with these lines. Okay. Because right now we've got the top surface being able to be controlled. The width and the length of it. But we don't have anything to control the legs. So what I want to do is I want to start with a dimension between the very left line. And it might ask you to save your project. Let's go ahead and save this project. I'm just going to save it in my folder, save it wherever you save your normal stuff. But we just want to call it, you know, whatever, 246 table. It is going to be saved as a .rfa, a family file, correct? This is technically week 8, even though we skipped week 3 and 7. Oh. Okay. And then all right. Okay, so go ahead and save it. Let's just make sure that you're getting some progress done and save it. You don't want to lose it all if you got a crash. So what we want to do is we want to dimension from the very left-hand reference plane to the next reference plane over. And bring that up. And then I want to dimension the very right reference plane to one reference plane to the left of it. And bring that up. Same thing on the left-hand side. We're going to do the top reference plane to one down below it. And the bottom reference plane to one up above it. All right, so we should have, again, the left reference plane measuring to the next plane over, the very right reference plane measuring to the one plane to the left of it, the top reference plane measuring to one reference plane below it, and the bottom reference plane measuring to one reference plane above it. Does that make sense? Everyone got those 4 dimensions on there? All right, so what we're going to do, and this is kind of cool, we're going to end up controlling all of these with the same parameter. So I want to click on this number, whatever dimension it is, I don't care. But go ahead and click this one of this top right dimension. And we're going to come up here to where the parameters are, and we're going to come and create a new parameter. And we're going to call this leg inset. And I'm going to come here and click the 4 blue boxes. And before I do anything else, I like to make sure that things match. I want to keep this all in capitals. So I'm going to edit this parameter. You can always go back in and edit the parameter with this pencil tool. Click on the parameter you want, click the pencil tool, and you can get back into this menu. So I'm going to put my cap locks on leg inset. Perfect. And I'm going to set that value to 4 inches. I'm going to click OK. Now, the cool thing is, since we set that once, we can now click the other 3 dimensions that we're using for our inset dimensions, select them, and now from this label drop down, we can click and set it to leg inset of 4 inches. And it will automatically set all of those to a 4-inch inset. And if I changed one of them here to 5 inches, it would automatically change all of them to 5 inches.
Graham,
Just a second. Yes. What do you mean? It's probably just on your screen. I don't know. I can take a look. Hold up. Yeah, go ahead online. Was that? I don't know.
yeah, it was me. Really quick, I accidentally typed in the wrong name. How do I edit the name once more?
So let's click on this 4 blue box. Okay,
Yeah.
so if I refer to the 4 blue box, that's the family types window. Okay, if we click any one of these types and then click the pencil, then we
Okay.
can, okay, and then you can
Thank you.
change it right there. Okay, you can try to click into it, but since it's a instance parameter, or sorry, since it's a type parameter, not instance, we can't do anything right there. So you actually have to go into it and change it right here.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Let's look at this thing.
At that one zoom point. Yeah. All right. So if you have something that looks bold, zoom in and out, you might end up with it's just a graphics glitch a lot of times. So, all right. So let's go ahead and build another parameter. And this one is going to be leg width. Now, let's see. Make sure that this will work right. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. So since this line already has something that's controlling the leg inset, okay, this line isn't locked necessarily, as in like it can't move, but it has a parameter that's controlling that inset, right? So the dimension that's going to happen for this next one, it will move this next thing right, which is what we want it to do. So I'm going to delete this dimension and we'll start this leg width over. Okay, so we want to go and take a dimension from the left-hand side. We're going to be working in this top quadrant. We're going to take a dimension, so DI, from our right-hand side of that leg inset dimension, right? So from the leg inset to the next line over. Okay. Do the same thing for the other 4 sides. So, or the other 3 sides. So leg inset to the left, leg inset to the bottom, and then the last one, the leg inset above. And we can click one of those and create a new parameter. We're gonna call this. And actually, sorry, we're gonna click one of them. By one of them, I mean one of these top ones. Okay, so this actually matters. Either one of these left or right ones. I don't care which one it is. I'm gonna click the right one. We're gonna create a new parameter and we're gonna call this leg width. Now I'm gonna assign that parameter to the other dimension on the top. And last but not least, you probably already know what we're going to do. This next one, we're going to click it, create a new dimension, new parameter, call this one leg. The last one we called leg width. This one we're going to call leg length, right? Going with the dimensions of the table. Leg length on that one. And last but not least, I will assign it to both of. So this one will be leg length. And I don't care what your values are in here yet. We will click in and create them all together. Yes. But it was giving you that 6 foot or whatever the table distance was on your left-hand side. All right, does everyone have something that looks something like this? No news is good news from the peanut gallery over there. So I guess we will continue. All right, good. Thank you for the thumbs up. All right, so what we're gonna do just to make this really nice and simple, and I know this is gonna, oh, look at that. I screwed up how to spell something because I fat finger things all the time. And I'm gonna go back in and correct it. Okay, so if you've got anything, oh, this should be leg length. What was I doing? Hold up. Leg length, type, leg width.
It's because you created one earlier.
I created another one that you're right. So I created this one here that's no longer in use. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So now, again, and if you did create a parameter that's extra, now if I click on one of these and try to delete it, and it has something that's currently being used, it's going to say, hey, stop, that parameter is in use, right? It didn't do that on the last parameter that I deleted, so I'm okay to delete that, right? All right, so let's go ahead in here and just for sake of for sake of simplicity, let's type in 1 foot for the leg length and 1 foot for the leg width. I know it's a big leg, but it gives us working room. All right. So we now have a bunch of different areas, but we should have 4 squares, right? 1 square in the top left that are 1 foot by 1 foot, I should say, right? Because this is still a square, but, and probably that one too, but 1 foot by 1 foot squares, okay? So what we want to do, and I want you to do this in multiple extrusions. So what we're going to do this one time and copy it around. Okay, so we're going to create a new extrusion by going to the Create tab, Create Extrusion. And I want to go to the rectangle. The depth, let's go ahead and set this depth real quick. Instead of it just stopping at 1 foot, let's actually, we'll change it later, but let's actually make that depth 2 feet. The legs are going to be taller than the table. That's fine. Okay, but I want to make this 2 feet depth. You should have it up in your ribbon somewhere. Might be So it might be at the bottom of your screen. Look around, you'll find that. If you don't have the depth tab showing up right now, not a big deal. It just makes it easier when we go to the front view to differentiate the two objects. We want to set it from 0 to 2 feet tall. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rectangle tool and I'm just going to draw a little square in this top left leg area, right? So within the leg width and the leg length. And I'm going to click that checkbox. And before I align it, before I do anything else, I want to click this, use my copy, just copy it roughly from one leg to the next leg to the next leg placement to the next one. Okay, so just put that square somewhere within the reference plane square, if that makes sense. CO on your keyboard, or use this. If you click on the item, the modify tab comes up and it's this white and then the two blue two blue circles.
Click somewhere and it'll pop everyone down there.
Yes, you should just be able to keep clicking and popping them down. If not, so real quick, if you've got, I'm gonna do this over. I'm gonna just delete all but one. Maybe your copy isn't set up for multiple, and we're gonna do this real quick. So if you click this copy button, you should see a ribbon that comes up that might say multiple, constrain, and disjoin. Make sure the multiple is on, and then every click that you do, so you set it originally, and then every click that you do will be a new location. If you didn't have it on multiple, it'll just end the command after one copy, which is fine too. You just have to do it 2 more times. You don't have multiple, look at the bottom. If you click it and then type in CO and you're in your copy ribbon. So you're creating a new screen. You're inside this. You haven't, okay, hold on. Create a screen. You still have that. Now, okay. So we right. Yeah. So create this. You have to create these inside here. You do this one too. Which one? Yeah, I always never do it. I always get them back like a few days before they do, just in case. So now they're out of it. Now we can. I always find something that's not mixed up. All right. Okay, we should have some table legs placed between our reference planes that notate our table width and our our leg width and our leg length. Okay. What we want to do, we're going to use our align and lock tool 16 times in a row. Okay. So AL, we're going again, make sure this multiple alignment is off. We're going to click the top line of your leg and lock. And then you can just keep going around the leg. And lock all 4 sides of each extrusion to their appropriate reference planes. And remember, everyone needs to be aligned, and then we need to click that lock button. If that lock button doesn't get clicked, when the leg width moves and the depth moves, the actual extrusion won't move with the framework. Just the framework will move. I'll be right there. And by default, it might move with it, but you want to override it with your align tool. All right, so now I'm aligned and locked in all 4 legs. Remember, where you want, then what you want, and then lock. Let's stay with that lock. Where, what, then find the lock. Where, what, then find the lock. And to check and see if this works, once you're all done, we can bring the 4 blue boxes up. And we can change the leg width to, let's just go to a nice 4-inch leg with a 4-inch inset by a 4-inch leg with a 4-inch inset. Perfect. The 4-inch leg width and length. You should see that those squares should all change. And if they didn't all move together, something was not locked. Yours look like that, Sean? Okay. And if we go now to our 3D view, we'll see something. And right now it just kind of looks like an upside down table just because of how long we drew those legs. But we'll adjust the height of everything pretty soon. All right, has everyone got this? Ready to move forward? Rudy, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Didn't mean
Okay,
to.
okay. I saw your thing turn yellow, so I didn't know. We're good. All right. So what we want to do now, so we worked every time you're in Revit, you pretty much work in multiple 2D views to create a 3D element, right? So right now we're working in a plan view or a floor plan or a reference level. So we're looking down. However, since Revit can also be utilized in 3D, we must have a way to look at this in section view, and we do. So we're actually going to utilize this front view for the rest of our reference planes. And you'll see that right here, all those other reference planes exist in your front view. And if I went to my left view, you would see the reference planes that exist going the other direction, okay? So what I want to do is I want to create a reference plane from the, I don't know, roughly, I don't know, a few feet up, 4 feet up, something like that. From the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And I want to create another reference plane somewhere underneath that. So we should have 2 reference planes in the horizontal direction, so going from left to right. So what I want to do is I want to dimension from this bottom reference level to the very top reference plane. And I don't care what that dimension is. We'll set it in a minute. And let's go ahead and click on that. And let's create a brand new parameter. I want to call this table height. And I'm going to do that one more time. If you've already got table height on there, great. We're going to tension from the bottom reference level to this top reference plane. And I'm going to create that new dimension or create the new parameter. In this case, I've already created it. I'm going to go ahead and just assign it to table height. And then we have one more parameter that we need to control this. And that's going to be the table thickness. So it's actually the tabletop thickness. So I'm going to take a dimension from the top reference plane down to the one right below it. And I'm going to take that dimension, create a new parameter called table top thickness. All right. And once we've created these, we can use our handy align and lock tools to align and lock this geometry in here to the actual plane reference planes that we created. So it's not going to be flipping it. We're not going to flip anything real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to align. So is everyone with me? We're going to align this top. So if I go, sorry, the tabletop one above it. So the table height should be the very top line. And let's go ahead, just for shits and giggles, change that to 10 feet. Okay, make it way the F up there. And for tabletop thickness, we'll just go ahead and make that 2 feet. Okay. I know this is excessive, but I've got a giant sitting at this table, right? It's a little 4 by 4 foot table, but it's 10 feet tall. All right. So what I want to do is I want to use our align tool, AL on our keyboard. And we're going to go to the very top reference plane that's controlled by the table height dimension. We're going to click that reference plane. And then I want to click the very top of the table extrusion. So the actual big extrusion. And that should stretch it all the way to the top. And I want to click that lock button. Now this can be a little tricky because there's a couple different lines down here. So let's go ahead and take this extrusion and click on it. You should see 4 drag arrows pop up, right? And if I try to click this top one, it's actually saying, hey, you can't touch that because you already locked it to the other one. It's saying this is constrained. You can't touch that. I click escape. I'm like, okay, fine, sorry. But what I want to do, and this is just because I don't want to click the wrong line, I want to just take this handle and just drag it up a little bit, okay? And you could drag it way up here, okay? You could drag it down here. I don't care where you drag it. Don't drag it on top of that line, okay? It'll try to auto lock. I just want to make sure that we control the alignment.
Hey Graham, quick question.
Yes.
If I forgot to lock it, how do I go back and make sure it's locked on when I aligned it?
Good question. So, if you forgot to lock it, what did you forget to lock? This tabletop right here?
Yeah, the one we just did, the tabletop.
So let's go ahead and grab the top extrusion and drag it down. Does it drag down?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now just drag it back up or click align, click that top line and then align it to it and lock it again.
Okay.
So here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to click remove constraints. So yours looks like this now. Again, like it looked like this earlier, but it wasn't locked. So we pulled this down. There was nothing saying, hey, this is locked to this line. I'm now going to use my align tool again to click the top line, click the top of the extrusion, and then click that lock.
All right. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep, absolutely. No, thank you for asking now instead of 4 steps from now when we're working on legs, you know? Okay, so very pretty easy. Again, the only reason I drug this up, we could do a line in here, but I want to make sure that we grab the right spot. I don't want to accidentally grab a reference plane or grab something over here and move another leg. So I just drug this up just so we could see it a little bit more easily. And let's use the align and lock and align the bottom of this table to this plane. So we're going to click the reference plane at the bottom that notates how thick the tabletop is. And then we're going to click the bottom of the tabletop itself and lock that. Pretty cool. If you look at your 3D view now, you have something that looks like a table that's floating way up there with some legs underneath it. Okay. Let's finish it off. All right, so one thing I want you to notice and pay attention to real quick. How many legs does this table have? How many legs can we see right now?
We can see 2.
Try that again. How many legs can we see right now?
4.
4. You are seeing all 4 legs right now. Okay. However, they're aligned at different spots. Right here, you're seeing this wireframe. Okay. We are seeing that 4th leg. All 4 of those legs are visible. Can I determine the difference between the back and the front leg right now?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it, not at all. However, it's there. Okay. So that's what I'm getting at is your view right now. You're seeing all 4 of the legs, even though you only see the front 2, technically, right? So when we align and lock these legs, there's going to be a leg behind it that we're also going to need to align and lock. Okay, so let's take the right leg, for example. Use our align tool, AL, and we're going to go to the bottom of this tabletop thickness, the top line of one of these legs. And you'll notice when you do that, one of them goes to the top, the lock shows up, but we also have another line that's still there, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we were seeing through. So now I want to, again, click where I want to, even though it's the same spot, I'm going to click where I want to align to, and it's this reference plane. Okay. Click this other table leg that's behind it and lock that one as well. Okay. So we're going to do the 2 on the right and the 2 on the left. Okay. And if I hit escape twice, go to my 3D view, we now have something that looks like a little bit of a table. Pretty cool. So to get it to move around like this, okay, hold shift and your middle wheel, and then you can pan and rotate it. Yours is missing a leg. You got a 3-legger. Let's take a look. So you're not missing them. They're there. You just didn't get them to here. So let's go back to that front. The line. That line. This line. That line. This is gone. Now you got all 4 legs up there. Okay, so make sure that all 4 of your legs are aligned to the bottom of your table. All right, here's the true test. Again, if it says save this project, please save the project. Okay, here's the true test. Let's all make the same table. So leg inset, 2 inches. Leg length, 3 inches. Leg width, 2 inches. Table height, 30 inches. Table length, 6 feet. Tabletop thickness, 1.5 inches. Table width will go 4 feet. Okay, so leg inset, 2 inches. Leg length, Yeah, that follows suit. Perfect. Leg length 3 inches. Leg width 2 inches. Table height 30 inches or 2'6". Table length 6 feet. Table width 4 feet and 1.5 inches for your tabletop thickness. If I go ahead and click apply, there's our little table. Pretty cool, right? So this is the basis of what Revit is designed on, is allowing us to create parts and pieces that can stretch, that can flex, that can rotate, that can turn, that can do anything that you want it to do, all based on a parameter value. And we just touched the surface of it right now, okay? But ultimately, you build framework, build this skeleton, if you will, and then assign the dimensions, which are the muscles, and then then you build the framework, build the actual extrusion and connect the muscles to it, and now it's all constrained. Oh, what'd you do? It's your tabletop thickness.
Oh,
But why do you have, what did you use? So you've got something screwed up with how you, let's get your front view. So tabletop thickness, you didn't lock this.
oh, that's
So
okay.
this isn't fully
I
locked.
like
I
it.
don't know what's going on, but so you've got, so let's click it again. Just drag it down.
And then I'll mention it.
So I would align it.
Yeah.
So align the bottom, make sure the bottom, this bottom. This one, yep. This bottom half. There you go. Oh, see, remove constraints. Okay, so we're resetting it now. Now lock it. Now go to this one. Top one,
The top one.
to the top of that one. Now lock that.
Yeah, okay, and then so now.
Now it's going to be controlled. And now go to your 3D. Hit escape twice. Move it out.
Yeah, okay.
Now it looks
Great. Yeah, it's like, man, I did something backwards.
All right. So does everyone have a table that looks like this? We're actually going to take that table height and I'm going to drop it even more. 30 inches. That's about our normal height. Let's just call this dining table. So what I want to do with this type properties open, right? So the family types window, the 4 blue boxes. Okay, again, if you're not there, it's this button right here. Right now, the type name is blank. Okay, so that's saying, hey, there's a type name of nothing. Every parameter that we created was what is known as type-based. By them being type-based, they can be controlled by a type, which means that I can build a type that says dining table and assign all the parameters, and it will build exactly the dining table. So what do I want to do? We already set the dimensions on this. We're going to go ahead and click this new type button, and I want to just type in dining table. All right. And you'll notice now that if you click apply, okay, you should have something here in the type name. If you click that drop down that now says dining table. Well, is that helpful? I could have just built a family that says dining table, right? But I want this to be an all for, one family can do it all. So let's make a new family. And just for shits and giggles, we're going to call this fire hall dining table. We're going to change that table length to 25 feet. We're going to click apply. And so now I've got different types that I can click that drop down and now look at a dining table or a fire hall dining table that now is giant, right? Or let's build one more. I'll build a new type and I'll call this nightstand. I'm gonna build the height of this. I'll keep it at 30 inches. That's fine. Tabletop length, it's only gonna be 18 inches by 18 inches. Just a little 1/2 inch topper on it. And leg inset's probably just gonna be about a 1/2 inch back. We'll make it some 2 inch by 2 inch legs. 2 inch, where's my table? Leg length we want 2 inches as well. And then that's what I did. Leg inset, we only want a 1/2 inch. So a 1/2 inch leg inset, 2 inch leg length, 2 inch leg width. Tabletop going to be 30 inches. Table length and table width are both going to be 18 inches with a tabletop thickness of a 1/2 inch. And if I go ahead and click apply on that, now I have a nice tiny little nightstand to put my lamp on. Pretty cool. Any questions? I know that we just covered a lot.
You can take one of these, and if you have a basic structure of the table, you can then take this and you can modify that individually and make each one, you can get extra little.
And you can make certain things turn on and off. You can do certain things. Let's do this real quick. Let's do a formula that says leg. So we want the leg inset. I want it to always match the tabletop thickness. Maybe that's something that coincides together. I don't know, just for our thing though, it's nice and simple. So what I want to do is I want to type in table, and it matters if you're how you spell it and if you're in cap locks or whatever. So you want it to say the exact same thing, but I want to say formula equals table top thickness. And if I type in enter and I change the tabletop thickness to 2 inches, that leg inset's going to change to 2 inches because that's what I told it to do. Does that make sense? Maybe I want the leg length to actually be the table length divided by, let's say if I've got a divide by 48. No, I'll do 24. 24. Table length divided by 24. Now that leg length is 3/4 of an inch. So you can control everything. Table width divided by 32. And now I've got a leg width that's 9/16. And everything can be controlled by those parameters. So now when I change the width of this table to 5 feet by 9 feet, how many things are going to change? So you're going to change 3 things besides. So you're going to change the tabletop. So how many other things would I'm going to say? So we've got the table width and we've got the table length that are going to change, right? But driven by the formula, we now have another table width, leg width formula, and a leg width, leg length table length formula. So that's going to drive 2 other parameters to change as well. And I go ahead and click OK. And now you see that those legs match that table, right? So, and this is just the beginning of families. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. Stretch your legs, meet back at 7. We'll call it 7:42. Yes, let's go. Make sure you're all working.
Oh, yeah. So is everything being controlled still? Yeah. Let's go back to it. So something. Yeah. So. Let's go right to left. This one is 7, right? Now, so that's your like, you got these backwards. So this is technically. So, this. You don't got a table? Yeah, but I myself. Inside. This. This how you play it. Now they should all, you just have that inside move. Looks good. Pretty powerful, huh? That's good. I like that. So back when you built a block and you needed to change it. Yeah. Oh, man. Blocks were nice. How do you build a bigger block? You redraw it. No, because it's not. So you can't like. No, because it's not just graphically represented. It's actually physically has meaning. Okay. It doesn't just have a scale. That's insane though, because I mean, yeah, every one of the windows and everything else in there, it's like, dude. Now you can control so much. I like right. And the formulas is where it starts to make it fun. And you can, we're not going to go through it, but I've got a lesson. It's too much time to go through in this class, but I've got a little lesson plan that I teach. It takes about 2 hours that goes through building a bookshelf. But if that bookshelf grows in height by increments of a foot, it'll start adding shelves to it and automatically space them accordingly of how, yeah. That's pretty cool. So it's pretty cool. So it's got formulas that drives it that if this is greater than this number divided by this, then you add a nth shelf here, and so it's pretty cool. And then you can just be like, I want this to be, and it allows you to control shelf spacing and whatever, but it's gonna add and remove them as it needs to based on the geometry that's in front of it. Shelves have to be a minimum of 4 inches, but a maximum of 15 inches or something. Right, and then you can set, different things, but between shelf 1 and shelf 2 is always going to be static at an 18-inch, dimension. So then it'll still calculate the dimension spacing between the rest of them as long as it's above 9 inches or whatever, right? Or above, 18 inches maybe to fit a book, whatever it might be, right? Anyhow, kind of cool.
Keyboard.
You got a new keyboard?
Yeah, I had to get a new one. I don't know what happened. Mother just gave out.
Okay, well. So it wasn't the chair to keyboard interface, it was the real actual keyboard.
It was a keyboard because I was typing on it and then my letters stopped working. It didn't want to do the next letters. And I thought it was something that was going on Revit, and then I touched on my keyboard on my laptop and everything was working.
Good. All right. Well, glad that you got that figured out. All right. We'll give another minute for people to get back in here. So the rest of today, we kind of have a little bit more fun with this and show you what's out there.
That's what I was going to ask you all. Great. So I'm Ron Ellen Hine. I've got a vocational counselor that sends out like.
Are you just still be?
Did you get one from me by any chance from her?
I don't think so, but.
I was going to check because she said she sent them out.
What's her name? Okay, let me. Okay, let me look real quick. I will be honest, I'm the worst with that freaking, I get 20 something emails a day that aren't relevant. So, perfect. Let me, oh, come on.
Are you gonna be working on the table for the rest of the day?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna be doing a few more things to it. What was her name? I haven't. I didn't see. I haven't gotten anything from her.
All right. The north or south?
All right. So what else I want to be looking at today is just physically how this table looks. So right now we are probably in hidden line. You could go to wireframe and kind of see it a little bit better. You know, you see through that tabletop, right? You see the top of that table leg. Maybe you're in coarse or fine, depending. Right now, it shouldn't change anything just based on what we've drawn. Everything should be available to be seen. If we change it to shaded, though, right, it just goes to a gray tone. If we change it to consistent colors, same thing, and realistic, it probably makes it look kind of black or whatever. But there's options in here, and Revit has a bunch of ways to change the material type that you're using so you can make it appear a certain way. So let's go ahead, and looks like we got some students back. Sweet. What we're looking at is material types. So if we take a look and if you click on this actual tabletop extrusion, let's all be in a 3D working view for now. It's probably the easiest way to make this. Oh, sorry, Long. I got you. I just saw your message. Help, Professor. I'm stuck outside. Yeah, right. That's all good. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is I want to click on this tabletop, and I want to go over here to the left-hand side, and you'll see that it is you've got materials over here. Okay. So let's go ahead and click on that 3 boxes next to it, and you'll see a bunch of stuff come up. None of this is useful. I'm just going to put it out there. All this default shit is garbage. Okay. So we're going to start by creating our own brand new actual material. So I got here by clicking on this tabletop on the extrusion, going to the left-hand side in your properties, and you should now see a materials. If you click into this by category, you'll see 3 little dots come up, and we want to click those 3 dots. Of course. Do you really have? Okay, good. Okay. I was about to give it shit, but it's got something for me to work with. All right. So what I want to do is I want to come down here, and we've got a couple different different options. Okay. And we've got this one right here with a circle and a plus. Okay. And this circle and plus, yours might be more like this. Okay. The circle with a plus has a little drop or a little arrow to the right of it. I don't want to just click on the circle. I want to click on the arrow to the right and bring up this other window. If you just click on it, it's going to duplicate this and now analytical panels. And I don't want to do that. I want to create a brand new material. So we're going to click on the right arrow, create a new material. And it's going to be in here called default new material. And if I go ahead and right click on that default new material, I can rename it and I can call it tabletop. And it'll move it to the bottom. All right. So now there's a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to start with just a very, very simple way. And let's just make that tabletop red. Okay. So if I click on this color and click on red and click OK and click OK again, I'll get back into it. Sorry. So right here, so go to graphics in this tab, in the right-hand tab. You've got, so click on tabletop. So you should have identity, graphics, and appearance at the top. Graphics right now. And we want to have just click into here and this second one down. 25500 is your standard red. Okay, that's something that if you're learned any of your drafting colors, that was like one of the ones that was hit hard. We don't want it to be transparent at all right now. We don't want to use the rendered appearance. Okay, so if I go ahead and click OK and look at that, we should now all have a red tabletop. Yes. But we did set it. So there's actually use render appearance. So I'm in shaded right now. Yeah, that's fine, I'm in shaded. So right. No. Are you in shaded? No. So right now, okay, just go ahead and click OK. Right now, if your menu looks like this, okay. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Click on this. If you're in here in your materials, if you've got it looking like this, you've got your new tabletop and it just straight up the color right here, use rendered appearance isn't checked, transparency isn't turned on, and you click OK and you see nothing. You're probably still in hidden line mode. So let's come down here to the actual box, right? This is the level of detail, coarse, medium, and fine. I don't care what you're in. It's going to be all the same for right now. Let's change the visual style to shaded, and you'll see this thing turn red a lot easier. All right. So kind of cool. Let's click on it again. And click that again, click into the tabletop and then click the three. I don't know why they make it difficult, right? It should just be there, but let's change that transparency to 50%. And let's not be clicking up OK on these. I'm going to just move this kind of over to the left-hand side. I'm going to click apply. I'd still select it. It's fine. Let's click OK. That's fine. But you'll notice when you click apply or OK now with a 50% transparency, we now have a transparent tabletop, right? So maybe that is something that we want to, had a red acrylic, right? That was see-through. Okay. Let's take a look. Get back into this material. And let's look at what else we could do with it. So that was with the shading. Let's come down to material libraries and click this up panel. And you should see, if you go to home and then go into this AEC materials, double click, you should see a bunch of materials that are now in there. And I think if you type in if you just type in W, you'll go down. So what I want to do is I want to apply walnut to this. So I want to type in W, it'll bring me down to wall texture. And if I scroll down a little bit farther, we can get to walnut. I want to click this walnut button and I want to click this up. Let's see. Yeah, I want to click this up arrow right here. And it's going to add that to this properties list now. So I could bring in a new property. Maybe I want Maybe I want glass. What this is doing is it's bringing it from the library into the use for the family. So now it's an option for us to use. Maybe I want to do a glass. So they've got this like glass. Maybe I want, I don't know, that glass. So I could bring that in there too. So it's going to bring in whatever you click on. It'll bring that in, and then we can apply that type. So let's go ahead and now click and say, I want it to be a glass brick. And I want to actually click on this use rendered appearance tab. Now that I'm actually getting something with physical properties, I want to utilize that use rendered appearance. And if you click on the appearance, you should see that it's kind of has a color and a glossiness to it that's already been assigned. If I go ahead and click OK, you should see that now kind of reflects whatever the glass. Maybe it's not perfectly see-through. Maybe it's got some sheen to it, right? That's a glass brick. It probably isn't going to see through a glass brick. Maybe it's just glass and clear. Let's apply that to it. So if I click on that glass and click OK, there's a sheet of glass that's sitting on top of there, right? So maybe I want it to be glass, and maybe I want to select all my legs. And you can use the shift and middle wheel button on your mouse to kind of pan and rotate this. But we want to select all of our legs. So I got the 4 legs selected. Let's go up to this material category, and we already brought walnut in. Let's go ahead and put walnut in, and on graphics, I'm going to click the use rendered appearance. And it doesn't look great there. Let's try it in realistic. Oh, look at that. Look at that table. I got walnut legs with a glass top. Right? Okay, I'm going to go back and do that one more time for the legs. So this time, instead of walnut legs, I'll make them maybe a spruce or something. So I'm going to, I selected all the legs, yes. So you can right click, or you can hold control, or you can drag select from the right to the left and just touch the legs and they'll be selected. And then maybe I wanted this to be in spruce, so I could come back here and go to this open and close that. We've also got this guy. Let's see what I can do here. Yeah. So go to graphics. Yeah, like this one's on graphics appearance, and it's glass. Oh, what did I just do? Select it. So play around with this. You can change add some new materials. So create a new material. You can browse from your asset browser and bring in new materials. You can go to this home into your ACC and bring in materials this way. Okay, so whatever you want, you can bring in, and they have a lot of stuff. Maybe I want this to be gold. Ooh, and I run a gold legs. Is that realistic? Yeah, that's not great gold. Sometimes renderings, like I said, sometimes renderings, it's just a rendering, right? So that walnut looked pretty good. The gold, maybe not so much. Okay, so it's all about what your intent is. I don't spend a whole lot of time physically changing attributes of materials because that's not a huge part of my job. However, it is a huge part of some people's jobs. So this option is out there for every family you make to be able to assign a material to it and make it, different types of actual material. I mean, we could make something, I think air is a material.
So how would you make your glass brick see-through? Mine is one without the
So are you using the rendered appearance and are you in realistic? I'm in realistic now.
Oh, okay, so I'd have to like actually go.
Yeah. So, and also depending on how you're viewing it, it's also going to change, right? So if it's hidden line, you're only going to see it in wireframe or in black and white. Wireframe, you're going to see through that tabletop. Consistent colors, shaded, and realistic can all give you a very different look, even though they're all colored of some type.
No, my realistic grid lines. Oh, did you apply as a material a surface pattern to this? I'm not sure. The other class grid, you may have put.
But I did see that. Oh, you know, that makes sense. It's a glass brick, right?
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it would actually physically, that's chopping it into 8-inch bricks, right? So you can play around with that. Okay, it's not something again that I spend a whole lot of time with, but it's something that is an option, and you could, you know, we could assign anything to a walnut top or a spruce, or like I said, depending on what it is and how good it's modeled, that looks pretty good, right? Oh, and then maybe I want the legs to be the same material type. Like these legs, and maybe I'll apply the same material type of this walnut. Oh. Sometimes you gotta trick it. Seems like what's going on. Oh, there you go. There's my walnut leg. So there's my table. And at any time when I feel the need to build a new one, I can create a new type and call this the coffee table. And I can build this with an 18-inch height. And, you know, I don't need to do anything for the leg width or inset because I got those being controlled by formulas. So I'll just give it a height of 18 inches, not feet. Table length of 3 feet by 2 feet. Sounds pretty good. Tabletop thickness, probably pretty small, little 1-incher. And there's my little dining table. Or sorry, not my dining table. There's my little coffee table. Okay. Huh? Could I mean, I can build a different type. Sure. I can change it to the fire hall dining table. And now look at the size of it. Look at those big old legs because of the formula that I said that I want the legs to be 1/24 of the length of the table. So you can do anything you want with it. Again, I gave you 7 basic parameters to control the table, but this concept can be applied to anything you want. Anything you can imagine as far as what you want for parameters. Maybe we are building a sink, okay, and we wanted to have like a void taken out, right? A sink has a big hole in it, right? Like build a block, okay, so maybe I do something like this where I have, and I'll just build a quick extrusion. You don't need to build any of this real quick, but this is just, you know, maybe I'll build an extrusion like this, and I'll have a void extrusion inside of it. And maybe I want that to go down to like 2 inches from 2 feet. So this is now going to cut that out of that. Now I've got a little box. So now I can control the depth of that sink, right? I could control whatever you wanted. So that's how everything starts. And then it changes from there. Maybe I want it to be round. I can control the diameter of it, right? Or maybe I want it oval and I could control like the 3-point radius of it. So There's all type, anything you can imagine, you can model. I mean, and not only can you model it, but you can model it with smart parameters that actually make it stretch and flex and move the way you want it to. And instead of having to build 15 different tables, I built one table and we build 15 types and we're done in, an hour and a half instead of an hour per table. Because AutoCAD, you could copy that table over and then change it, but you've got nothing that controls it parametrically like this. Yep, everything. And maybe in this case, we always want the table width to equal table length times 2/3. So maybe it's the 2/3 of the table length will be the table width. So now as this entire thing changes and the table height is going to be, let's say, it's going to be you can control everything by one parameter, right? Based on just formula based. So everything can be controlled and built all as a single item and make as many different copies as you want. So I told you earlier we would talk about type based versus instance. So right now, all of these have what we call type parameters, meaning that as I change one of them, it's going to change it in all of my different types. Does that make sense? So I've got a leg width parameter that's a type parameter. So every time I use that leg width parameter, this value is being used, or at least the value that is assigned to it is being used, assigned to the type. So if you place that one type, let's say you place a 2x2 table in the corner, and we go back and we change that one table from a 2x2 to a 2x3, but we change the whole type. We change all nightstands. Now all nightstands across your project have been updated. If you had one of them that says, if it was a individual parameter, then I could control the width of this nightstand versus the width of another nightstand versus the width of a third nightstand. But it's all individual parameters. It doesn't. This changes in one fell swoop, right? So, and that's the difference between having this parameter be type based versus coming down here and being instance based. So let's. You would have to make the parameter instance based. You would build a brand new type for that one in particular. So like every panel board, I build a new type for it. So that way, if panel board 3B is 48 inches wide and 3A is 62 inches wide, they're not affected by each other because they're all built on different types using the same height, width, and depth parameters that can be controlled. And let's say real quick that I have gear that serves 3A, 3B, 3C, right? These all big pieces of gear, all different size. However, on every floor, we always have a lighting control panel, right? So that they can be built as a 3A type of gear, a 3B type of gear, a 3C type of gear. Each one of those is placed once on the project, right? And then I could have my lighting control panel that could be placed 17 times, right? Well, now that lighting control panel, I get the submittal back and it's actually 2 inches wider.
But that's all of them. So you want all of them to change.
Exactly. So then it's a one-step update instead of going to all 17 of those locations and updating them individually. It's a
tables for nursing home, and they're all supposed to be the same. And
you got it. So type is a lot more powerful for what we're looking at, but things can be instance-based, so you're only looking at that specific instance of the item.
And you can copy one.
Always.
and make it into an instance one, that's the only one that's.
Yeah, it would still be a type. It would still be a type, but you're just using it as a one-off. That's the only instance of that type. Now, if I built it as an instance-based period, then I put in a table and I use that same table in 15 different rooms, and I stretch and flex that same table in 15 different rooms to 15 different sizes, and it's all the same family. But it's 15, but nothing is controlling. Everything is controlled individually by what you did in that room, not as a whole. Okay. So maybe there is one that's one off and you could build it as a different thing. But I typically will always build things as types. And then if it is a one off, I'll put one instance of it. So, but this is the biggest thing with Revit is things change. What we are originally spec'd versus what we install, I would say 50% of the time is like from original concept is the same. Things change drastically. How often does something like a one line that doesn't have any fucking changes to it is the fucking engineers smoking crack the whole time because they're not paying attention to what's going on in the project. It literally, if you either way, it's just there's so many variables that we're always constantly needing to be like, hey, let's update the size of this or update that, or maybe all of these need to change. Now, what's a great instance of instance-based parameters, maybe pendant length. Okay, so let's look at a light. Let's say I have 250 L2 pendants on this job. All of the pendants, every fucking light has to sit at 17 feet. But I've got a pitched roof. So every different area, the pendant length is going to be a little bit different, right? So I can do a couple things. I can build a type for each one of those and be like, okay, here's in this row, here's all the ones with this pendant. Or I could just build it and copy them down and have it report back the pendant lengths that it needs. And I order the links and we go from there. So, but that's one thing that, because like all those 17, I don't want them all to be the same pendant length, and they can't not all be the same pendant length if it's the same type parameter. If it's type based, all LO2s have to have a 15-foot pendant, but only 5 of the LO2s are at the peak. The rest of them are spread out, so those pendant lengths aren't as long, right? Going down to that 17-foot, you know, let's say it's a high bay, right? But you still have, it's not, you know, hanging off of a joist that's going perfectly horizontal. Maybe it's off of a freaking frame joist.
So how would you subtract those lengths? So
you wouldn't. You'd model it, drag up take the rod, drag the length up, model it in the right location. Got it. Set every light to 10 feet high or 17 feet in this case. And then you could build a parameter that then would allow you to say in this area, all of these are 15 feet long. And I would just grab all of those in that row and type in 42-inch rod for this, and then go to the next row down and type in 36-inch rod, and they would all just snap to the right spots once I know what that distance is. All right. Any other questions about families? I know we did a lot. Yes, please. Make sure that you've got your tabletop selected. Cool. Other questions? All right, so let's go ahead. We've got like 20 more minutes I'd like to do of instruction. We can go through more family stuff if you want to go through that. I'd like to take a look at our templates from last week, but I know not everyone's caught up to that. And so I'm going to postpone the templates for next week. Let's go ahead. Yes. So let's go ahead and take a snapshot of this right here. What I want you to do is take a snapshot of, just go ahead and put it on coffee table is fine. But I want a 3D snapshot of the family types opened. And I don't care what it says on here, right? It doesn't matter. We just want to see these concepts with the formulas that are in here. Maybe you've got them, maybe you don't, but we at least want to see at bare minimum a table in 3D and then all of these 7 parameters with some type of value. And I'll make sure that the submission page is up. We actually got through that a lot quicker than I was expecting. So, which is a good thing because a lot of times we get hung up, and that just means that we did it in a way that no one had real issues. Like when we modeled stuff before, if people dropped the extrusion on a line and it tried to auto lock to it, and then they didn't copy it around, but they made 4 different legs in the same extrusion. It just, I've learned. I think this really, like this lesson just kind of opens up Revit for people. It kind of gives you an understanding of this isn't just a vector-based program. It's, based on real parameters and real data that you can plug in and change stuff. It's parametric based. Do we have classwork for this week? Doesn't look like there's one on there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, let's see if it's
There is one. I was able to submit to it.
cool. Awesome.
Hey, Graham, I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
Does Revit take like coordinates that we obtain from total station specifically on road works or sewer lines, and then
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. So when models are set up, and we're not going to get to go through this, to be honest, there's typically like 1 or 2 people at at any company that really deals with model setup. Typically they're in charge of getting, but when we bring a new model in, like here, I'll open up, I'll bring here, this is my active project, so this might give us a little bit.
Okay.
But when I go here, and this is some lighting that I've been working on, if I go to like, let's just look here. So when I go and I look at this grid lines, all the grid lines that are on here that have been brought in, this is all being brought in via a survey point.
Okay.
Or multiples, right? Maybe it's a triangle of 3 points. There is GPS ways to link this in. If you go to this manage right here, this project location actually allows you to acquire coordinates from other projects, put it where it physically lives in space. So if you know you're easting and westing, you can put it in there and actually utilize daylight maps to show shadows via rendering of what time it is. So there's all types of stuff that you can do, but yes, everything is tied directly to very specific locations. And that's the way that we're able to play together in the same sandbox, right? Because we all got to have the same files that match on top of each other. Otherwise, it's just like a lot of times, and this is how it used to be back in the day, like we'd all upload a file and then it'd be like, okay, let's find a base point. So we'd all put a base point on there. And it was like civil's, here's civil's base point is here. All right, mechanical's base point is 350 feet north and 750 feet east. And so then you would take that file and transform the entire file 350 feet north and 750 something feet east, and then you would line it up physically. We don't do that anymore. Everything is a true, I wouldn't say a GPS coordinate, but it's coordinated and the location is inherited to the actual site location in physical space.
Perfect.
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were building a house in Mexico, we could make it actually in Mexico, right?
Okay, and one other question I have is like when you design specifically like for the road cross sections, I know back in the day we used to use Eagle Point, but now they just specifically use like Civil 3D for the purpose. When you do like a ground model like the Civil work specifically, can you import it directly to Revit from there, right?
So you can import it. So here's the biggest thing about a civil model. A lot of civil models are 2D models still. Civil, they use, we use contour lines, right, to show where raises and elevations are, but it's still a 2D physical model. Now that's changing, I will say, and I know that I'm not a civil guy. From my experience getting civil files, everything is a 2D flat plane. It's you don't really get the actual earth architect, the terrain, the rises and drops. We're not getting a file that shows the earth because no one's modeling that. That being said, we can see I can overlay that CAD drawing, that CAD file, and see where raises and lowers are. So I use it in conjunction, but there's no physical, like the extrusion that we built tonight for that tabletop, there's no physical earth that's raising and lowering in my drawing. It's just some lines on the screen. So if I go to, this is perfect view. If I go to like right now I'm in a floor plan view, right? So you can still see my screen, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So we're in a floor plan view, right? If I go to a section view, so if I'm actually cutting a section of this,
Yep.
what I would see from that 3D, from that civil file would literally just be something that looks like that. It would just be a flat line. It would just come in as a, and I can tell it to come in at 100 feet, 150 feet, but it's just going to come in flat. Now, that being said, we have started to see with topographical surveying and more of the civil 3D AutoCAD, where they are doing 3D versions of these topo maps, we're starting to see that come in. I've only had one job that I was able to utilize earthwork for, but since they were digging a 70-foot hole, it made a lot of sense for them on this job to include it. So they actually had a contractor that modeled all the earthwork that was being done. But that wasn't off the civil plans. That was a third party that worked with the civil plans to bring that in. And then they also worked with a LiDAR drone to confirm the accuracy of what they were modeling versus real life elevations. So it was pretty cool, but we didn't want to utilize a point cloud because it's just so, and here's the thing, point clouds are great for objects you can see, right? What happens when it's a giant void, when it's a hole in the ground and they're trying, it's just, you don't, it's a whole different thing when you're measuring a pinnacle. When you're measuring a space of the void, it's just kind of a pain to work with. So they did it just to check and verify the accuracy of the site edges. Because as that building came through grade, one side of the building came through at like basement level and the other side came through at like level 2 because of the site. It was all sloped, right? So you're coming in at a different, so it made sense. It's Northeast 6th in Bellevue is the
Okay.
site that I'm talking about. But it's on a hill that not only goes this way, but also goes that way. So the bottom right corner is like 2 stories under the top left corner or something, you know what I mean? So,
Okay.
but that, again, that was done by a third party, not by the civil engineering side.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Just random questions about anything we've covered? Again, no right, wrong answer. I'm just trying to make sure that what I'm teaching is coming across, or if there's something that you're interested in, that I get you answers on it.
It's a very good program, and first time I see something very focused on 3D and well designed. It's work in multiple dimension in one time. This is very
Right.
cool. And there is a lot
It's
to
a-
learn. I feel like this quarter or this class is not enough. There should be some like more advanced level to it.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying. That's what I'm striving for, because it's not enough. It absolutely is not enough, especially where I want to take it. Nice house who's ever working on that down there.
I think that's probably
house
me.
there, Addison.
How do I close this? I got the roof put on, but like, how do I get rid of that gap? And there's another one up here too.
We'll have to work one-on-one.
Okay.
I'll show you. I'll work on this.
Fair enough.
Awesome though. Hey, that looks good, man.
Thank you.
We're not starting the final project till next week, but looks like you got a leg on it already.
Nice.
So, well, actually, that being said, that's a great segue right now. So we're gonna wrap up in about 10 minutes for tonight. Again, the family it's a lot to cover. But I do want to go ahead and introduce to you what we are going to be working on for the final project. So let's see, it is posted. I do have it posted, and I will go ahead and release the rest of this. It says 2023 on it right now. I will post the version that says 2024, but it's the same thing. So let me pull this up. Come on. And there will be a new version tomorrow that says 2024 on it, but it's the same damn thing. So starting next week, we will begin our final projects for this class. Final projects are going to be due the very last day of the quarter. Okay, so I'm going to try to bring my calendar up on that screen. Can I bring it up right here? No, I can't. So, but what that means is we have the 4th, essentially from now. So starting now, we have 3 full weeks. I think our last date is the 18th. Okay, so that gives you all of March plus a few days this week. The next 2 class periods are going to be, there'll be small instruction, but mainly it will be a work period for you to work on your final project with assistance. So let's just go over this real quick. Final project, please choose a project of your choice that is easy for you to model and annotate for construction documents. I would recommend you choose to model your home or a space that is familiar to you to make it easy. Okay, so real quick, if you want to model a boat, let's stop you right there. Okay, I've had somebody try. It was cool. They spent a lot of time trying to do stuff that like didn't really work out the way they wanted to. Okay, so I would like it to be some type of a building. Okay, if it's a small little, 150 square foot little 1-bedroom studio, great. Okay, it can be your dwelling. Okay, wherever you live, it could be a future home that you want to have. Okay, it could be whatever you really want, with the following as a minimum guidelines. So we must include at a minimum a floor plan view with dimensions of prominent elements such as walls, doors, windows, and casework. An exterior elevation of the space with dimensions of walls, windows, and doors. or an enlarged interior floor plan. Okay, and these are things that we're going to be working on over the next few weeks in class. You know, building some of these enlarged views. So I'm going to be working with you to create the views and the scheduling portions of this, but it's up to you guys. And I would highly suggest starting this week so you come to class next week with some content. But the rest is up to you, whatever you want to make it. So, you know, if you have a minimum of a floor plan next week, if you've got nothing next week, that's fine too, okay? But I'm just trying to get you a leg up so that way you're not scrambling later. The more content you have in your model when we're going through creating different section views, a different, you know, interior enlarged view, it's just going to be that much easier for you to create views that already have content in them versus just creating a view and maybe you're creating a view of the bathroom and you don't have anything in there. You just have a blank room. Okay. So I would highly suggest put in 2 hours this week. Okay. We draw little houses all the time, right? With these little ones, put in something, grab some walls, throw a few doors in. Okay, if you want to grab some dimensions of your, you know, of your place that you're living in and make it that, by all means, go for it. Okay, I think Aaron, last quarter when I had him in our AutoCAD class, he built his, you know, his residence and turned it into almost an exact, you know, copy of exactly what he's living in.
So is that cheating if I do it again, but just with BIM?
It is not, as long as you don't import.
Import? You
Yeah,
said?
so don't import your, don't take your other file and try to bring it in. Just bring it in. And to be honest, if you did that, it would probably just cause you more heartache and grief because it's not going to bring in walls. It's just going to bring lines in. And you don't really care about the line.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
But yes, you can do your exact same dwelling. That's fine.
Yeah, I want to do a better version of it now that
Exactly, and you will do a much better version of it. Not that your last one was bad, but like this program is so much more powerful that the views that you can create are so much more detailed just based on being able to put in a window in the right spot and already see, you know, an elevation of it, right? Not having to create everything from scratch. So, yeah, I think you'll have a lot more fun drawing that up than you did last quarter. All right, so last but not least, so let's get interior elevations. At least one 3D view of the entire project and one of a specific area, such as an enlarged floor plan above. Schedule views for some of the elements in your model, such as doors, window schedule, furniture, casework, appliances. And then there's some additional points for the furniture, doors, window, casework. The more detail you give, the better your score is going to be. Okay, you don't need a ton of stuff to get full points, but you need to include, you know, furniture, TV, kitchen casework, appliances. If you're not building something that has a TV, right, or has appliances, still put in whatever goes into that space, right? So maybe it's tables and chairs, okay? So for the most part, I would be grabbing families, and we'll talk about this. For the most part, I would probably be grabbing families either from BIM object if you can't find it, or more likely going here. If I go to just new, if I just open a new project real quick, I know it's not from our template, but if we go to the insert tab and we load Autodesk family, a lot of your families can come from here. Okay, so most of your stuff will be, you don't need to make anything. You're not, last semester for, I guess we only have Aaron that's on right now, but I provided some basic blocks for them to use. Same type of thing here, except you've already got it built into your Revit. So you can just go to it, go to doors, and see the different doors. Now, if there's something in there that you can't find and you want something fancier, you can go to this lovely website here called bimobject.com. And you can sign in with your Google account, whatever, but literally anything that you want on there, let's type in fireplace. And here's all the different fireplaces that are out. I mean, hundreds. Maybe we want to use this cool glass one. We come down here, we click this download. Here, I'll just sign. See me. But you'll go to download, and then when this comes up, okay, we only care about the .rfa file. That's the Revit family file. Okay, you don't need to get all these DWGs, IFCs. There's a ton of files for this is BIM object for all types of Revit, ArchiCAD, SketchUp. It's got it for everything. We only need the .rfa for Revit family. Okay. Okay, but that's out there. If you want to get fancy, by all means, use it to your advantage. It's really cool, and there's a lot of stuff on there. And so you can just download that, drag it in. It'll probably say, hey, this needs to upconvert, because typically these are all built in like 2013, 2014. So all of them are old families. So pretty much everybody in any version can use it. Typically they build them in the oldest version possible. So they can be, because if I built it in 23 and you were still using 19 and tried to use it in your project, you couldn't, right? So they tried to build it in like 50. Typically it's like 15 is what a lot of them you'll see. But don't be afraid to upconvert. So, and then, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click off that yet. Let's go back to here, modules. And I'm going to make these available for all of you to see. Actually, they've already been available for all of you to see. So at the very bottom, week 11, I've got all these files down here. Okay, don't worry about the year, please. I don't want to resave these. You guys get it. It's 2024, right? But this is the sample project. So like I said, right here was the actual assignment, the schedule views. Again, hopefully you'll have some fun with this. Create a model and construction documents of a space that has meaning for you.
So what is the construction document side?
That's what we're going to be working on in class. So that's going to be the view, the schedules, the plan view, the elevation views, all of this stuff up here, right? Where I said floor plan view with dimensions. No. The construction documents mean the actual views and the documents that we're going to put together. So we're going to look at this real quick. If I go back, one thing I will say, please don't copy my project. I've had someone do it dimension for dimension in the past, and yes, technically, like, it's not wrong, but I'm telling you, please don't copy it. Okay, so here's what you're going to be turning in. Something that looks something like, there's a little 3D view of a house, right? Again, this is super simple. I wanted to go to, why don't all of them pop up? You don't need to have a roof. Roofs aren't required. If you want to put a roof on, by all means you can. So you'll have a 3D here. Here, this is what I want. I just wanted this next one. So this is the sheets that I'm talking about. Okay, here's a floor plan view with prominent dimensions of walls, right? You can see that. The elevation views that you can see, right? That's a symbol for one. You'll see them in a second. Maybe on the elevation views, you'll show the elevation and dimensions of your windows and stuff like that. Okay, so there's a floor plan. Here's the exterior elevation. So one of each side of your wall. This does have a window on it, or it does have a roof on it, but again, a roof is not a requirement for this. It's got some different tags on it, just telling you what each type of window is, and you can correlate that to the schedule It's got some enlarged, so here's a kitchen enlarged floor plan view of the kitchen, as well as a couple kitchen wall elevations. You can see the cabinets and the sink and the window, and there's the elevation facing the other way. So I'm facing, one of them's facing here, one of them's facing there.
Are you gonna look in the title block as well?
It's already built in. You already have one. Yeah, we don't spend time doing that because you'll never do that in your life. Or if you do, it's modifying something that's already been created. So
It's just a little bit.
I don't need to spend a month creating a title block. Schedules, again, we're going to build schedules that will show the different walls and their lengths, the different types of windows that are in there and the quantities of them. These ones have a mark number on them, so each one of those is labeled. That's what you were seeing earlier in the elevation with a 12 on the window. That was what it was referring to, is this certain specific family. Casework schedule that, schedules the countertops and that kind of stuff. Furniture schedule that shows different nightstands, different stuff. I'm going to mention this once. I'll probably mention it twice more in the next 2 weeks. I try to mention it once every week. Still, some people don't hear me. If you use your table that we created tonight 2 times in 2 different types in your final project, you can get 2 extra credit points. Okay, utilize the table that we built tonight twice, utilizing 2 different types, and maybe a nightstand, maybe a coffee table, maybe a dining table. You can get a point apiece for each one of those as an extra point. So that's like 10% extra right there on your grade. So that's a whole letter grade improvement just by putting a table in that you're going to need anyways. All right, and then last but not least, here's some 3D views, some 3D isometrics. Here's a little kitchen we were looking at, a bathroom, little living room, and a little bedroom with a closet, little utility room. Okay, so it's pretty simple. There's 6 pages. It's all of the sheets are shown here. Again, if you go to modules and you go down to the very bottom, week 11, everything's shown right there for your final project. The actual instructions as well as the 6 example sheets. Okay. Don't worry about sheets at this point. What I want you to do is start working on a building. Start getting some content on there. We will build the sheets and put the project together in class as a whole, but I can't model everything for you outside of class, right? And it's going to take more than the next 4 hours that we have in the next class or 2, right, to model your content. So it is your final project. It's worth 20% of your grade. Realistically, 5 hours outside of class in the next 2 weeks, and you probably have all you need. Okay, I can whip this whole thing out in probably an hour and a half if I need to. Okay, not saying that you can do it that quick, but it's not a whole lot of work. Okay, it's just the biggest thing is getting the basic content. Don't get so bogged down in creating that perfect spiral staircase or that perfect front porch area and that if you're stuck on something, move on. Like, I don't want you to, whatever you want to do, but again, when you look at the documents that I've got, it's basic construction package. We're not looking for anything super high end with super fancy finishes. I had somebody spend 30 hours on their project and they didn't even turn in a completed project. Okay, I don't want that to happen. Okay, it's really hard to give someone an F after 30 hours of work, but they didn't do the bare minimum requirements, which is turn in a package that I could build off. They had this awesome model at the end, but they took none of the time to put the documents together that they needed. So I was able to give them 8 points for modeling of the 20 points. That's it. 12 of those points are worth actual documentation, right? So be sure that when you're modeling, you keep that in mind that you don't need to do them yet. Nothing needs to be done yet. I want you to get content in your model so that way in class you can follow along and we can create the schedules and you can put them on your sheet and we're good to go. Okay? But without the content in there, it's really hard to create all the views and schedules and things we need if you're building it off of nothing.
So getting the items, that are listed by next class.
I mean, the basic items is basic modeled elements. Okay? Don't worry about the views yet. Don't worry about dimensioning anything. Put in a wall with some windows. Put in a door somewhere. If you build it to about the size that you're looking to build it, right? Okay? But content is key in the next week. If you come to class next week without anything, you're not going to fail next week, but you're going to struggle when we try to build a view and you don't have a 3D view, and you build the view, look at it, but there's nothing in there to look at, right? So I could drop a couch in there, right? Bring some furniture in, bring some extra stuff in, okay? Go through that menu, draw 4 walls. I mean, if you had, realistically, if you spent 10 minutes with 4 walls, put in 4 windows, a door, dropped in a sink, a cabinet, a toilet, a bed, you would have enough content for us to build some views and you to be understanding what you're going to do. Maybe that's not what you want to build as an entirety, but it would be content for you to start developing off of. Okay? So it might not be the perfect home that you're looking to build, but get something in there for next week. We can always remember how easy it is to make that wall 50 feet long, right? So, I mean, we can stretch and flex and build everything, but we can't do any of that if you don't have the basic content. Any questions, concerns, comments? I think we're done with assignments and quizzes at this point. The plan typically is for that to wrap up and then me to say, hey, let's take that off your plate and you can just focus on the final. Okay? And we'll probably still be turning in classwork each week because it's just a demo work, like the screenshot. Because there's no more quizzes, there shouldn't be any more write-ups. Okay, you should be done with that at this point. If you haven't done that, please get them in. Okay, I'm willing to give 75% credit to everything. I don't care if it's late. We need content. We need your quizzes. We need the assignments to be on there. So if you missed an assignment, go back, watch the video from that module, turn in the assignment. Okay. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns, or we're gonna go ahead and sign out.
Hey, I was gonna ask, when are you gonna post your video that we made of this today?
I will try to get it. So last week it was posted. I will try to get it posted by like 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So it was posted. For some reason, it's the stupidest thing. It'll post. I will say posted to the site. It'll approve it. I'll come back an hour later and you don't have access. It's sitting there waiting. It's just saying, no, you guys can't see it. So, but if you don't see anything by 10 o'clock, ping me tomorrow. So you should see something.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
Addison, if you want to hang on, I can look at your,
Yeah.
Can you share your screen or you on a different computer?
No, it's a different computer, but
Okay.
I can do the
I know,
best I
because
can
that's
do
how I
here.
kind of saw it earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Get you in there.
yeah, we can kind of see that. Now, let's see if I can spotlight. Oh, that didn't. I wanted to just make it my full screen. Here, can I just make it bigger? I don't know. It's Oh, there we go. Okay. So let's look at that in a section view. Let's go to your floor plan and bring one of your sections over to it and take a look.
Which section view do you want?
Which wall were we looking at there?
Let's be this guy here.
Yes, please. Please do. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to that view and see, and let's go ahead and take the depth of that. So on the dotted line, you should see a little drag arrow. Yeah, let's drag that back towards the section, no other way. So we're only looking like 6 inches deep.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Now let's go to that view and take a look and see. So what do we see here? But in 3D, is that all there? That's like half there?
Now in 3D.
Oh, you
it's
don't have
like-
any of it. We're just seeing through. Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're trying to do.
But
Okay.
it worked on the front of the garage here. Like it gave me that panel.
Right.
But it just didn't work for this one or this one here.
Gotcha. If you click that wall, what are your options up there? It's really hard to see your screen.
I know, I'm
unfortunately, 'cause
sorry.
I can only make it like the max I can make it is like 4 inches by 6 inches on my screen. So it's like a quarter of my screen. But what I would look at is seeing if there's a way to click that wall and seeing if there's a way to attach to your roof.
Could it
Is there
have
something
something to do with the fact that like I have a first floor and I have a second floor, but
Oh.
this is the only second floor pieces here?
It definitely, I would say that yes, that is
Okay.
probably going to play a factor. We can look in. Is there a way that next time you can log in on that other machine?
Yeah, definitely. I
then
use
that
my
way you can
laptop for this stuff and
Sure, no, it's great.
yeah.
But like it's just hard to screen share. But that next week we're going to be breaking off into like individual stuff.
Okay.
So it'll be work time, and I'll be meeting one-on-one with people, just doing so we can look at it one-on-one, and I can look at your options, and we can.
Okay, yeah, that would be super awesome.
But it's too tough
Yeah,
to try to
I know
see
it's
what's
too
going
small.
on
It's
now.
too yeah. The other thing I had a question about is when you're working in the 3D views, once you have everything built together, when you have floors and you have ceilings and you have roofs and all that stuff, is there a way to pan through that stuff and stay in a 3D view, or do you have to just go level 1, level 2?
So, good question. There is. Let's go back. Go to your 3D view real quick. Spin me back around.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your screen. So right now, you've got that 3D view. Go to the left-hand side. Let me just pull a 3D view open. So I'm making sure and see if you've got a section. Go ahead and click that on the left-hand side. You should have a checkbox that says section box. So scroll down on the properties there. You should have a checkbox somewhere that says section box.
Section box, yeah.
You click that and then zoom out on your yep, there you go, zoom out. So now what that's doing, okay, is that so click on that cube. The outside corners of the actual
Okay, yeah.
there you go. Now in the center of that, you can drag that up and down. There you go, and you can cut that.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, I got you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. So yeah, so you can build a view that you can now cut, and then let's say you wanted to bring in one of your other sides. Like you could bring that side, and it would just show you like that wall is missing. So grab that one right there, exactly. Drag it right into the living room. There you go. So you don't have to see that wall, right? And then if you just click on that section box off, just uncheck it, it'll go back to normal.
Okay.
So
Perfect. That is
Oh,
so
if you
helpful.
want to section some stuff to look at it, that's you can also do the same thing. Turn it back on again, please. And it probably resets it typically.
Yeah, it does.
So zoom in. Don't grab that one. So keep that top. Keep that up.
Okay.
Bring that up and bring it down just so you're below the roof. So the one that you just did, bring it down just a little bit so you're just below the roof. So we're still seeing that top. Perfect. Okay. Now I want you to go find another drag arrow. It's actually directly below that. It's at the corner of the roof. Yep. Now drag that one up. Drag that up. So now you can actually isolate just the second floor if you want it. Okay, so it works in all directions.
Okay.
So you've got a drag arrow. There's a top, bottom, left, and right. And a front and a back. So you can drag all of them any direction you want and cut it in any plane that you want.
Okay.
So just as a future thing, you can always duplicate a view and create just a second floor view.
Yeah.
You know, so there's all types of options with that, but now you've got a little bit of control of what you're viewing. We can show you how to actually.
So helpful.
I can show you how to actually utilize your scope box, but like that's the quick and dirty way.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
very
sure I'll have to
effective.
go through and play with it for a while and find out how it actually works, you know?
Right, but it's super helpful. And like for me, here, check this out. I don't know who else is online, but I'm gonna go back and share my screen. Zoom. Let's go share. So if I go to the screen here, you just pull up a project that I'm currently working on. This is how Scopebox is going to work. Pretty cool. Let's share screen too. All right. Let me know when you can screen.
Yes.
Let's look at the entire project. So this is just like a plan view, and it should be just of the entire building. This is the hospital job I'm working on. So you can see how big this site is. And it's freaking massive. And there's 3 different areas to this building. This is actually the basement. Let's just go to 2. That might be easier to see everything. There's just too much going on down there. All right. Perfect. So like you see that we've got like one area over here. This is B. We've got an area down here that's C or A, and then we've got an area up here. All of them have a different direction of where these grid lines are going. Right? So it makes it really hard to work in this model when things are like when straight left and right is like down and away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we utilize scope boxes. So like this, I'll turn on my scope box for section A only. So like working section here, let's hit scope 2. So that's actually B, but it'll change it. So I'm only looking at area B and it's straightened it out.
I gotcha. It'll reorientate things so you have a left-right direction that makes sense.
One was now that was B, now here's A, but now look at all my grid lines to it, right? It's now straight, right? So like you can do different things with different scope boxes to change how you're viewing and what you're viewing. Gotcha. So they're pretty helpful. But these were all set up, you know, in a way that changes the rotation. Yours is the whole thing is the same thing. It's a 3D box that allows you to see what's inside of it and just gives you an edge. This is just oriented differently versus like you were pulling it up and down or left or right or whatever. So same thing, but this is how I use them, and like we use scope boxes all the time. So they're pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful.
But they're cool in a 3D view. And then we can also orient things to view, which we'll show you later. But essentially we can build our own scope boxes from like little things like that. Like I built a scope box. Like these are actually, so I build a little command and I say it's touching that within 8 feet. Let me see it. And it just showed me anything in the project that was right there.
I got you.
It's automatically like building and controlling, but same thing. It's a section box. So there's section and scope boxes work the same way. But yeah, kind of cool. You can just grab it. I can grab anything I want and be like, hey, I want to look at this and this one, and I also want to see that hanger and this hanger, and then I want to see everything. And then right now I'm saying view it on DD, which is my like only my content view. So you can see there's a lot connected to that. But if I wanted to, I could also do the same thing and view it on my GG view, which is my with model. So this will actually turn on all the rest of the content. And I can see if I've got clashes or anything with other trades or in my actual Revit without going outside into Navisworks. But once this turns on, then it'll turn on all the 3D trades and content. So you can see things clashing. And it's a big file, so things take a second. Yeah. But come on. Jesus. Probably too big of an area. It doesn't like me. How faster? What car are you? $10,000 computer. Anyhow, you can see there's all the other content of all the windows.
Oh yeah.
So you can change the orientation and so, but I mean, there's everything else that's going on. So set up different views, but that's all just being controlled by those section and scope boxes because you can now control a 3D view and raise the plane a bit. So it just kind of does some cool things where it automatically sizes it based on the content that I've grabbed. So. Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thanks, Addison. Aaron, got anything for me?
I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. See you guys next week.
All right, thanks. Have a good night.
You too.